guys, Dr. Rama here for part 3 of our shame series. Always fun stuff to talk about. Alright, so this video is going to be centered around one of the most prevalent issues people have that is can be driven by shame. It can be driven by a lot of things, but shame is one of the major drivers. And that is people pleasing or codependency. A lot of people don't use those terms interchangeably, but for the sake of just being concise, those are the two ways that they both mean the same thing. People pleasing, I think, is just more of the colloquial way of not making it sound so bad, because codependency sounds like a clinical diagnosis, which it can be. But anyway, we're not here to, again, say there's nothing. Again, one thing you guys have to understand, that underlying everything that I talk about, you have to understand that there is nothing wrong with you. Just want to kind of say that out front, because I mentioned diagnosis, and every time I say diagnosis, this goes off in my head. So just before we really delve into this, whether I say people pleasing or codependency, understand that whichever camp you fall into and you feel more comfortable calling yourself is fine, perfectly fine. But there's nothing wrong with you if you are codependent. Okay, you were trained to be. So it's a matter of understanding that, and if it's serving you, let it serve you. But if you're ready to stop living in that kind of way, if you realize that the people-pleasing codependency does not work for you anymore, it is not helping you get to where you want to go, not letting you have the life that you want to have, then understand. And if you feel triggered by any of this, please take a step back and understand that all of this is coming from love. And if you are triggered, there is something here that you need to explore. Okay? But most of all, there is nothing wrong with anyone. We are all perfect in our way. We are completely as perfect, we're just complete perfection in just the way that we are. And that's kind of the point as to why I'm delving into shame. Because with shame, really what the emotion does, it's not the same as guilt. A lot of people put both together. Guilt is about something that you've done. It's about an action that you've taken. Shame is a referendum on your self-worth. Again, confidence, personal power, self-worth, all of these things are connected. So if you are feeling shame about something, you think there is inherently something wrong with you. That somehow you are less human. You are less of a person because of the shame that you feel. Because when you feel shame, you feel like there's something wrong with you. And it's the same way with me with my weight. When I gained weight, or when I was heavier, I thought there was something wrong with me because I was at that size. All right. So that's the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is over a specific action. Shame is over you. Your very being is somehow a lemon. And that's a problem, because that right off the bat you will stunt any kind of growth or creation, or anything that you're willing to bring forth will automatically not be good enough. So it either won't happen or won't get you the result you're looking for, because there's this very toxic energy behind it. But with shame, because it is it knocks at your personal power, your self-confidence, your self-worth, you are looking, when you are operating out of a place of shame, when you are operating in the instinctual way, and out of operating in the instinctual way of shame, in the instinctual mode of shame, you are going to look for ways or people to validate what you think, what you believe, and what you do. So you won't believe anything that isn't validated by somebody who you respect and love, and or love. You won't do anything that isn't prior approved by somebody. You won't think anything that wasn't already approved by someone outside of yourself. And this is, again, an endless cycle, because you're constantly going to be doing things according to somebody else's agenda, somebody else's expectations, somebody else's life goals. Where do you fit in all this? And it's very important to understand that you are the only one responsible for what you can do. And if you're giving up your power, now when you're operating out of shame, you already have less power. We've already given it up. To the imaginary outside world, or whoever shamed you as a child, and that is somehow is ingrained in your head. I've spoken about this a lot, but for me, my shame always comes down to my mother. So whenever I am operating out of shame, I will default to behaviors that I was programmed to, as a child, to know pleased her. But none of those actions please me because I hate doing them. Me personally, me, Rama, in charge of my life, hates doing those. But Rama, as a codependent, as the people pleaser, particularly the mother pleaser, will do anything to feel validated, to have this some sort of positive reinforcement to get rid of the pain that this shame is causing me. So it's very important to understand, and remember, this is not just actions you would take, this is also about actions you wouldn't take. So with me, a lot of the shame about things I wouldn't do actually has to do with my voice. So there are things I wouldn't share, there are topics I won't talk about, there are situations I will avoid if I have to voice my opinion or my truth on a given subject, if I'm in shame mode, if I'm in instinct/shame mode. That's very important to understand. Not only will people pleasing and shame dictate what you do, it will also dictate what you won't do. And this is going to drive you into a spiral, really, because again, there's really no negative emotion that doesn't have you chasing your tail. That's kind of the point, because eventually you're going to get tired of you should, hopefully, and I think most people get to this point eventually, and everybody gets there in their own time, but eventually you're going to get tired of chasing your tail, and you're like, okay, there has to be a better way. So that's kind of like the gist of shame, people pleasing, and codependency. Is once you've given up your power, then to know whether or not you're doing the right thing. And I put that in quotes because what's right is completely dependent on the person. But in order to know what to do next, you are waiting for outside validation. And or whether or not you should do something or not do something, you're waiting for outside validation. And it's just a perpetual cycle where you will do that. And it could be it could be something as simple as driving somebody someplace that you don't want to drive them to, or it could be about what you eat, what you wear. A lot of abusive relationships have this pattern in them. Again, shame is a very powerful driver, and it also, again, creates a lot of pain. So there's going to be behaviors to help deal with the pain. Then there's also going to be this people-pleasing aspect, this codependency aspect, which it doesn't always have to be an abusive relationship. It doesn't even, the other person may not even know you are using them in that way. You most likely will not know you are using them in that way. But this is where self-awareness comes in, and it's constantly looking at what you're doing and looking at the results that you want, and are you there? And if you're not there, what's the disconnect? What is preventing you? And then understanding that, is there something I'm doing that is not aligned with me, but is aligned with somebody else, but I don't have the confidence in this area right now, so I'm giving up my power? These are all the kind of questions you need to ask. If you are not where you want to be and you're not consistently being able to create the reality that you want to create, in whatever respect that is. So for this video, guys, I would love if you could share a moment of people pleasing in your life that was driven by shame. This may take some thinking. For some of you, it might be really easy. But just like the way that I shared that a lot of my shame behavior will automatically, again, this is an instinctual response. It's going to be something that you were programmed for as a kid, is to please my mother, even though I don't have day-to-day contact with her. The image of my mother, the memory of my mother is what I will attempt to please, even though she's nowhere around. And sometimes, actually, to be completely concise, I will sometimes actually end up reverting this to, I would start people pleasing around my boyfriend, and then that always becomes a problem too, because half the time he's just like, why are you doing this? Because you would never do this. So that's, it's important to like have that kind of reflection, but again, I can also transfer that onto him, and kind of put like my mother issues onto him, and he wouldn't even know. Unless he saw me, doing something that I would never do, and then he'd call me out on it. But again, that's how it can work. So if there is, if you could share, I mean, we've all people pleased to some extent. We're humans. We're pack animals. We're community animals, and it will happen at some point. It can be something really small or really big, or something silly or something not so silly, whatever you feel open to sharing. But let's share an instant where you people pleased out of shame. All right, guys, I will see you soon for the next video. I hope everyone's having a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.